so thank you all for joining us today for our very first NHJ Cares webinar, Healthy Mind and Healthy Body, Building Resilience for Journalists. Today we are joined by Dr. Luisa Ortiz Perez, Executive Director at VitaActiva.org. I'll now hand it off to her to introduce herself and begin the conversation for today. Thank you all.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's always such a pleasure to be training folks here at NAHJ. We're all, we've done this enough times, and at the same time, every time we sit and we get together, I always wonder why we don't do it more often, or I don't know when we would have to stop. This seems like it's a new reality. And it's also a series of great practices that I believe we should all be incorporating in our everyday lives. So as Isabella said, I'm Luisa Ortiz Perez, and I am the founder of VitaActiva. And I lead a group of very, very brave and a group of very, very generous individuals who are committed to one thing and one thing only, and that is the creation of spaces that are safe, creation of spaces that are including, but also creation of spaces where leadership is grounded and is connected to empathy and to the growth of others. So we're going to work a lot in this hour and change that we have together on learning tools and working on particular exercises that can help us not only self-center, ground ourselves, be more aware of our emotions, but also use this groundedness and this way of being centered to lead with empathy, to lead with cultural competency, and also to lead with the awareness of how complex the context that we're working in requires. So I don't know if I know many of y'all. So if you want to just write a little bit on the chat, who you are, where you're based, who you work with, and maybe, just maybe, if you have an expectation for the training of today, it would be really fantastic if you want to write it in the chat. So who am I, where I am, who I work with, and do I have an expectation for today? Do I have a question? Do I have a question that is pressing? Do I have a question on my mind that I want to resolve? And it would be really lovely if you can introduce yourselves here. So I want to start before I don't want to share the presentation right away, because I find that sometimes sharing the screen and having a PowerPoint kind of takes us away from the conversation. So the first exercise that I want to share with you. Yes, thank you, Isabella. The first exercise that I want to introduce with you is inspired in my favorite dish. So I am from Mexico City, and in downtown Mexico City. Has anybody been in Mexico City? Do you want to share an emoji? Anybody? Yes? No? You've been to Mexico City? Are you Mexican? Well, if you have been in the CDMX, you will know that there's a very famous place called Café Tacuba. Nice to meet you, Linda. Café Tacuba is a legendary restaurant. I believe that it was part of a mission in the past. So it was the kitchen of the nunnery where Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz was stationed in the 1700s. So imagine how old the place is. Well, Café Tacuba has a dish that I adore, and it's called Cuatro Cositas, 4 little things. That they're not small and they're not cositas, they're actually cosotas. So they bring you a plate where, okay, drum roll, 1 tamal, 1 pambazo, which is this fried bun with chorizo and beautiful potatoes inside. So 1 tamal, 1 pambazo, 1 enchilada with mole, and one enfrijolada. And so those four things apparently are like, it's like a perfect appetizer. I know somebody said, exactly. It's a great appetizer, las cuatro cositas. So I want us to start our conversation today. Brandon, hey, how are you? With cuatro cositas. So as you're writing your introduction, as you're writing your introduction to the group in the chat, I want you to think about four things that are top of mind. Hola, Ivan. Hello. Four things that are top of mind when you think of answering the question, how am I today? What are the first things that come to your mind? And if you have a place to write, if you have a piece of paper, you have your cell phone, just, open a note and just type. If you're more of a voice person, just, leave yourself a voice note and just, what are the four things that come to mind when I'm asking you the question, how are you today? And we're going to take a second to think about those things. We're going to give a little time, and I'm going to ask Francisco to mute himself if you can. Francisco, if you can mute yourself, it would be great. Hello. Hola, Francisco, you're Chilango?
Sí, Simón,
And you know las cuatro cositas de Café Tacuba?
sí.
So you know what I'm talking about, ya sabes. So if I was going to ask you about your cuatro cositas, Francisco, what are your cuatro cositas when I'm asking you the question, how are you today? What is the thing that is coming to mind? And you can say that I'm very hungry, because when you think of cuatro cositas, it's the only thing you can think about. So what are we thinking? What are we feeling? Take a millisecond. Take a second, and we're gonna open the mic when we're ready, and we're gonna start sharing at least one of our cositas, one of the things that come to mind when I ask you, how are you today?
Well, I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I'm like, so it's not just cuatro cositas. It's very complex. It's like maybe two times cuatro cositas.
Muchas cositas, muchas cositas.
Yeah, well, right now I'm excited that I'm finally like interacting with people. And also it's kind of exciting that I'm here, excited that I got the chance to be here in New York, but at the same time it's frustrating in a way that the whole political environment, and in my particular case the job hunt, has been really frustrating and high-rating, like just facing the ghosting from all the HR people. It's just enough to break your resilience. And if you put that the Trump administration is targeting us Mexicans particularly, well, you get like not a very, it's a lot of frustration, I think.
Yes, that's a lot of cositas, but definitely frustration in all levels, right? In many, many levels. We're with you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Paisano. Anybody else? Anybody else who wants to share one of their one cosita, a little thing or a big thing? This is a safe space. We are here. There's no judgment. This is who we are, and it's important. It's also important to know that we can share things that are not necessarily very, very big. We can share very small things. And the purpose of these trainings, it's always easy to choose a small example instead of a huge example like world peace, because it can feel a little underwhelming. So I don't know if anybody wants to open their mic or open their camera to share one cosita. Brandon.
Yeah, I could share one. So can you hear me? Cool, cool. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like I mean like I'm happy and I'm in a good place in life and everything and my I guess I'm a little bit different because I was born here, so I don't necessarily have the same worries that some other Hispanic journalists would have and such. But for me, I guess the main thing that why I wanted to join today was because I guess it feels like similarly like we're stuck reporting on what feels like the end of the world all the time. You know what I mean? Like we're constantly taking in the worst news, reporting on it just feels like despair, I guess you could say, just constant, you know what I mean? Like the news cycle is just so full of despair. Like right before this, literally right before this call, I was covering news throughout the day, whatever, but the thing that I wrote right before this was about some man who was charged with like 113 charges with like, sexually abusing a child. You know what I mean? So it's like that's just like one local example. Like there's national issues, there's state issues, all kinds of things that are just all day feels like you're stuck in this like hellscape of a news cycle, I guess you could say. Sorry, I know that was kind of heavy.
Oof, Brandon, no, on the contrary, what I'm thinking is, and I would always, and if you know me, you will know that there's always something very important, and that is that your body self-regulates. And I don't know if you noticed, but as Brandon was finishing, I actually exhaled. And I don't know if any of you exhaled as Brandon was finishing the story, but this is a common way that the body self-regulates. And so if, or somebody just, shook, you're like, oh, qué cosas, it's so hard. So these are ways in which we self-regulate. And I encourage you to always be attentive of that and be mindful. And if it doesn't come naturally, do it yourselves. Like when a hard story is shared, you can be empathic with your colleague. We can say, Brandon, we're with you. It's a hard one. And we can also just take a deep breath, all of us, and exhale. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else wants to share a cosita? I don't want to put Isabella on the hook. Una cosita, come on.
Una cosita. I mean, I'm happy too, but I'm also stressed and overwhelmed because there's a lot of uncertainty. Um, I agree with what you said, Brandon. Honestly, you hit it in the nail. I personally am not a journalist, but I am reading what feels like the end of the world all the time. So I'm the consumer and also working, with NAHJ. I see a lot of it. And I appreciate what all of you guys are doing. And it's why I wanted to bring this safe space, honestly. Luisa was with us last year too, and we were able to create this safe space for our members. So I think we all feel similar things. I would love to hear what everyone else has to say, even if you feel it, if you just want to send it in the chat. We're all family. And if it makes you more comfortable, I'm also considering maybe stopping the recording. That way this can truly be that safe space and not sharing it on our video library. It's something that we did last year, so I might just make that decision. That way we can just truly connect and be ourselves without
I
the
have an
pressure.
idea.
Yes.
I have an idea. I'm going to share a Google Doc. And so we're going to be able to have a conversation as we are speaking, because it's important for this conversation to be recorded for everybody who cannot be here. So I'm going to share give me just a minute. And so we are able to write in a separate space.
Perfect.
Where you can be
and the chat works
absolutely
too. The chat isn't recorded either, so feel free to use the chat too. But I want everyone to benefit from this opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Andres.
Andres, hi.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having this space. I think it's really crucial to talk about mental health and talk about how we deal with our stress. Um, and I think Isabella was referencing what is not only the stress from like the actual work that we do and the stories that we cover, but then the stress that comes out of the state of the business of news and the uncertainty with the future of news. I will be real with all of you. About a month ago, I was laid off from my job um, as a senior producer, and I'm in the middle of applying for jobs after having worked consistently since graduating college more than 15 years ago. So I have gone on my own journey, and I wonder, Luisa, if you have any thoughts about how to confront very shaky periods of times, like looking for jobs or moving to a different city or not knowing what your next professional endeavor will be and dealing with the inevitable rejection of applying for different jobs and not getting a lot of them. And I think this is something that journalists go through a lot. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andres. I do, and we will be sharing, as the process goes. I think that it's instability, and being told that you cannot go to work anymore in the place that you love is definitely not a small thing. And I believe that if you are able, Andres, to honor and grieve what is being left behind and give yourself grace and a little second to recuperate, you will be definitely more effective in your job search. Sometimes we begin writing letters and we begin writing our CV and we begin even interviewing when we are not entirely wholesome. And that transpires. I can even see the tiredness in your face. And that is something that is, I mean, human beings, we're interconnected. And I can feel and I can see that you are not 100% right now. I would say that it's very important to honor that for you. And my biggest piece of advice would be honor that, do what you need to do to get better, and then jump back on the saddle. Because I don't know if anybody wants to or has in the past done what they called El Paso de la Muerte, which is, in the rodeo, you're galloping in one horse and the other horse is galloping and you jump from one galloping to the other galloping. And that is, that is actually the recipe for burnout. For Christmas time, you will be probably completely destroyed. So patience, if you're able, and if they gave you a little bit of money for you to be able to take a second and a breather, I would say try to sleep. And learning as a senior producer, learning the art of sleep is a new job. But we will talk a little bit more about this. But thank you so much for sharing. I need a last person who wants to share a cosita, or shall we just, move on and I can share my screen and I'm gonna just write cuatro cositas here. And if anybody wants to share, we are in the Google Doc, and I will share the Google Doc also with Isabella so she can share it with you as well. Well, I'm gonna share my presentation because it's time, and also because I'm very proud of the fantastic work that my colleague Fernando did. Fernando Rodriguez designed this for me, and he is just so fantastic. So I'm very, very proud of this presentation. Let's see if you can see it. Can you see it? See?
Yep. Let's see.
Eso.
Loading.
There we
There
go.
we go. Perfect.
So, oh, well, this is I. If you ever need a good photographer, you let me know. There's a lot of beauty in this. We were here, so we were talking about the cuatro cositas and the idea of how am I feeling right now. And if you really want to go into the science of the emotion, there is also something to be said about how is your body feeling. And I want to take a second and ask, and welcome Rudy, just joined us as well. I want to ask everybody honestly, how are their bodies feeling? How are your bodies feeling? Because one thing is different, and I don't know, Andres, if you're comfortable me using your example, because we just shared. But one thing is to say, well, this is what is happening to me. Thank you. And then the fact that we can also say, and I am also feeling like this. Does anybody want to share particular sensations in the body? Like, are we feeling, where are we feeling the stress, or are we discovering a particular feelings in the body that that are accompanying this documenting the end of the world? It's going to be very, very common. I don't know if it's happening to you all, but there's a crisis of migraines. Apparently, medication to prevent migraine is actually, some pharmacies are running out of it because everybody has a migraine. Yeah, headaches, neck pain, migraines. And why do we think we have a migraine? Headaches, yes. And why is that? We wonder. Is it because we are feeling stressed? Is it because we are putting a lot of we're using our eyes in a very intense way? Is it because we are overworking? And it's also because we just can't understand and we can't just comprehend what is happening around us. I'm not going to go further on this, but this first exercise and the idea for you to have these exercises in a toolbox is something that I recommend you do every day when you wake up or before you're starting work, before you open your laptop and you're like, okay, so let's see what the email, how my inbox is looking. I would recommend that you at least ask yourself one question. How am I feeling? How does my body feel? How am I today? These are a few questions, a few versions of this question. And the important thing is going to be for you to be able to assess what you're going to need in the moment. I don't know if Ivan or Linda or Angel or even Tim are in agreement with me. When we wake up in the morning, we know exactly how we're going to, embark in the day. You look out the window, you look at your phone, and you're like, oh, it looks like it's raining, so I'm going to have to bring the umbrella, or I'm going to have to wear my boots, or I'm going to have to pack my lunch because I don't think I'll have time to eat, or buy food, whatever. But is it possible for us to be able to make also a plan that will take care of our emotional well-being? And this is the proposal. So by doing a self-check-in, this is the first, this would be your first step towards wellness. And the first step towards wellness is to establish what I need right this minute. And if If you need water, as I need right now, you make sure that this is what you need, and you make sure that this is what you're going to be looking for during the day. Somebody can say, what I need is to take a nap. Well, I don't know, emojis here. Has anybody learned the fabulous art of putting a 15-minute nap as a meeting in your calendar? Have you ever done that? Well, if you haven't, that's a big recommendation. I have a call right now. I'm sorry, it's blocked in my calendar. People know that I have a call, and you would say, I'll have a call with Isabela. And what does that mean is that for 15 minutes, I am going to close my eyes and power nap, or take a little break, or do a little meditation. It works wonders. It's one of the most beautiful things I've learned. It's a technique that actually Mark Cabra from Self-Investigation taught me. The 5 minutes, 15 minutes of doing nothing works wonders. It's very important to understand the science behind what I'm saying, because there's a lot of intentionality in wellness, but it can sound a little woo-woo. So I am very cognizant of the fact that we need to be, very, very intentional, and also we need to be very, very pragmatic. In Gestalt theory, which is the theory of psychological and emotional wellness or well-being, in Gestalt theory, there's one motto that is, the unbreakable motto, and that is that your body is not going to send you a memo when it's about to burn out. Like, I don't know, Rudy, but if you're about to burn out, your body's not going to send you a text and say, querido Rudy, we are about to not feel okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bam. That's not what happens. What your body sends you is, pain in the pit of your stomach because you have probably heartburn, or it's going to send you that kind of funky pain in the middle of the back or the lower back, or it's going to just start, it's going to start feeling heavier and heavier. And God forbid, you could feel, cramps in your shoulders, in your cramps in your arms, cramps in your hands. And that's when your body is about to say, hasta aquí llegué, I don't want to do it. I don't want this anymore. It is going to be very important for us to listen to those emotions. If we were together, it would be a little easier if we were in person, but there's horror stories. There's horror stories about how much we suppress our sensations as journalists. Quick question. Okay, are you ready? And just say, emoji or something like that. How many people actually have learned the horrific art of not going to the bathroom while you're doing coverage? How many people can actually do 12 hours without going to the bathroom? Yes? How many people forget to eat? Oh, I just realized it was 6 p.m. and I didn't eat. Yes, Andres. How many people have sat in the same chair for days? Yes, Linda, realizing that, it was actually not okay. How many people forgot to call home? How many people haven't talked to their beloved ones, their moms, their sisters, their nephews, their kids? Yes. Well, it is amazing, but apparently one of the first things that they teach you when you become a journalist is to stop feeling. And that is the very thing that burns you out. So if you're going to remember one thing about this training, this is it. Suppressing your feelings burns you out. I'm going to take a second, and I want to ask how everybody is, and if there's questions right now, before we start our second exercise. How are we doing? Any questions do we have? I just spoke like Yoda. Any questions do you have? I'm looking at our. Everybody's super quiet. Are you still working, people? If someone is still working, can you just let us know? I'd just love to know what people are doing. Yes, still working. Understood. Understood. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we are going to do a second exercise. Question here. The second exercise is called naming the emotions. And this exercise has to do with difficult conversations. Yeah, don't be sorry, Tim. I understand. It's all good. We are happy that you're here. So this second exercise is called naming emotions, and it's become quite popular. It's a popular exercise, and I'm going to tell you why. Especially in situations or in contexts where we are encountering difficult conversations. It's very sometimes conflict rests in the inability for us to explain to the other person how we are feeling. I won't say that it's a misunderstanding because, you know, not every conflict is a misunderstanding, but it is very important to know that most oftentimes what we need is to have an agreed language so that we can begin compromising or negotiating whatever the solution out of this conflict is. I don't know if anyone has been to couples therapy. It sounds a bit like couples therapy, but it's not. But anyhow, I'm going to share something super cool with y'all. And this is one of my favorite things in the world. And this is Plutchik Emotion Wheel. Are you familiar with the wheel? I don't know, Isabella, if I've showed you the wheel. Maybe I've showed you the wheel before.
No, I've actually never seen it.
Oh, the wheel is awesome.
It's beautiful.
Okay, thank you for being here because I need somebody to play with. So, Isabella, without looking at the letters, don't look at the letters. Just kind
Okay.
of glance over the colors and gravitate towards a color that is appealing to you right now. Don't look at the words. Just, you know, glance at the colors and say, what is the color that is appealing to me right now? Where am I going? And tell me what color you're kind of gravitating towards.
The purple.
The purple. And is it very, very dark, or is it more pastel? Like you're feeling it's very concentrated, or if it's more pastel?
It's brighter, kind of like almost highlighter-ish.
Like in the middle.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Is this a color that you always like?
No, I mean, I like
Okay.
purple, but I normally gravitate toward green.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Well, this is a very good exercise to break the ice, for instance, when you're having an HR conversation and when you're having a conversation, probably not with your boss, but with your colleagues or your subalterns. You can always say, let's, you know, break the ice with this exercise so that we can, you know, level the playing field. The interesting bit, and when you're starting to know things about people, is if you read the word that is connected to the emotion that you are experiencing right now, Isabella. And again, this is very personal, only you know, but is there actually a correspondence with your feelings right this minute?
No, that's why it's like so interesting. I think it's just the color that stands out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, loathing it is what appears in the in the flower. It's very interesting to see that it is between, you know, it's a very interesting emotional state which is, extreme tiredness.
Mhm.
It is extreme tiredness up to the point of just saying, I can't even. According to Plutchik, now, if you look at the Wikipedia entry, people have talked a lot about color theory and, not everybody perceives colors in the same way, etc., etc. But this is a very interesting appreciation of how we can express particular emotions using particular words. There's also an interesting exercise to do. If you would take the flower and fold it in half, the actual counter emotion or complementary emotion is admiration. And you say that you always gravitate towards green. So I would say it's not necessarily very far. But
Yeah.
so you're kind of oscillating between I can't even and I know what my path is, I know what my mission is, and I'm going to stay on this. Even if it kills me, I will stay. And knowing a little bit about you, that would kind of describe a little bit more of like who you are. Like I am here and it's gonna work because I have to make it work. There's no other option, right? No options, no option for failure. This is a very interesting exercise. I want you to take a second and think of, I don't know, a situation that you're encountering right now, something that is, on your mind, and look at the flower. And tell us a bit more about the feeling that the situation is generating in you. And maybe those who haven't shared much can tell us.
Angel wrote in the chat.
Oh, what did you write in the chat, Angel? Let me see. Yes. Fear. Fear. That's a blue. That's green. Sorry, that's a green. Yeah. Fear. Is it a fear? Is it a fear that is connected? Is it connected to surprise? Or is it connected to the fact that we don't know what's coming? The submission, you see? There's the emotions on the side, on both sides. Submission or surprise, awe. I love that word, awe. Fear of evil. Wow. But that's very fundamental. That's very, very fundamental. Yeah, evil is evil. You understand why in the midst of the First World War, Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings to explain to himself using fiction what was happening in Europe. He needed to make sense of what was happening. He decided to write, a story. There's many people who have used fiction to make sense of evil because our brains are not wired like that. Our brains are wired actually to understand love. As babies, that's what we know. We know empathy, we know love, we know generosity. Exacto, bad people. So we need to fictionalize them. Star Wars, again, another exercise in trying to understand just pure fundamental bad people. I don't want to curse because we're recording. So bad people. Yes.
It's crazy. I just watched all the Star Wars movies in order, and they are much more relevant these days.
Yes, it was May the 4th. It was May the 4th. It's important. And again, it's always baffling to be confronted with stuff that we really cannot make sense. I tend toward the red and dark red, but I don't feel upset at all. Is it an underlying situation? Okay, Rudy, this is an interesting conversation. So, do you sometimes feel impatient? Thank you, Isabella. Do you sometimes feel that that there's something wrong around you? Impatient. Say you're at you're just shopping, food shopping, you're in the grocery store, and somehow you get angry. Maybe, people are taking too long to pay for their groceries, or they take too long in the parking lot, and you just get very, very exactly anxious. Well, that is the root of the matter. In everyday life, everyday activities, you could be just like buttering a piece of toast and waiting to put your marmalade on it. When you have suppressed so much emotion, your body is like a pressure cooker, and it starts coming out. And it comes as anxiety, it comes as impatience, and then it can even be as rage, like you get angry out of something completely out of whack. Yeah, great. But it's not something that is impossible to fix, impossible to organize, and impossible to overcome. It's important for you to name it. And once you name it, you're like, oh, okay, I'm being impatient. What is going on? And listen to your body. Just by naming, you're doing probably 70% of the work. You're fixed it right now. You're done. You're cured, transformed. By the power of all of us together, boom, yay, you're great. And maybe you have to start doing a little bit more of a workout. I would say start to go running. That would actually kick in some dopamine. Yeah, and you're not angry when you're not anxious when you run and hike. That's correct. That's it. I don't know angry runners or hikers. I don't know them. They don't exist. They're always happy people, right? One last person, maybe people who haven't shared. And I know it's a busy day. I know it's funky, but if you bear with us, maybe Ivan or Linda, maybe John Lucero. John Lucero, what color do you gravitate towards? I was thinking I've never gravitated towards the light green before. And I'm finding myself in kind of a low intensity light green in acceptance. I'm feeling very accepting lately. Maybe it's just the end of the day. But so what does this exercise helps you with? It helps you with putting words to your feelings. When you are in a difficult conversation, when you are negotiating, when you are speaking to your editor, when you're speaking to your manager, it is very important that you use very precise language to explain how you feel. That is going to make your point far more valid, and it's going to make your point far more precise. Andres is saying, feeling a lot of fear about the future, having to turn over things I can't control has been a big challenge for me. Uy, bueno. I know the only thing I can tell you, I didn't invent it. It was Angela Davis. I am done accepting things I cannot change. I am beginning to change the things I cannot accept. And I am not. I am in control of one single thing, and that is my life. I'm in control with how I feel, Andres. And I choose love. I am in control with my emotions, and I'm in control with my solidarity to others. I am in control with how I love, and I choose to be loved. I am going to send you the quote. Angela Davis's quote is beautiful. And she says, yeah, I'm done with accepting. No. I am accepting that I am changing what I cannot live with. Little by little, bit by bit. Ivan is drawn to the blues. Yeah. I was gonna send you I was gonna send you an emoji, and I don't know why. I just got a glass of wine, so I'm just gonna put it there. I don't know why I got a glass of wine there, but there you go. Ivan is actually drawn to the blues and the greens. With all the things going on in the world, as we're pulled in so many directions, it's sometimes difficult to feel grounded. Absolutely, Ivan, absolutely. It almost feels like we are floating. And it almost feels like there's a beautiful word over there. And it's a very, very light lilac. Pensiveness is a word that I really like. When one is pensive, one is reflective, one is contemplative. And I think it's required in this day and age to contemplate, because what is required of us is so enormous that we need to be able to contemplate, pause, ponder. It's pretty wacky. Yeah. Let's see what I'm going to give you. Okay. I got cheese. I don't know why. I know why. Well, I got cheese. I sent you cheese, Ivan. And let's see. We're going to send a flower to Rudy. Well, it's very interesting. It's this picture I always love, because it's very interesting to see that in the workplace or even in a training session, it's always very difficult to recognize what is actually being shared, what is actually being experienced, and also what is actually being discussed. I leave you this because this image of the iceberg kind of changed my life. I don't know if y'all, I am a person who lives a lot in her head, and sometimes language is not enough to express how I feel, especially when I'm working or especially when I'm doing what I'm doing. So if you're able to discern what you're feeling from what you're sensing and what you're thinking, wow, it is a beautiful level of evolution in your life and in your professional career. I don't know if anybody has a question about this, because I don't want to give you my own interpretation of this slide, but recognizing the difference between sensations, emotions, and thoughts is definitely one of the beautiful gifts of living a self-aware, an even-keeled, a centered, and also a mindful existence. I'm going to share the presentation with you all. So don't worry about it. These are beautiful images. Okay, shall we continue? Yes. Do we need a little bio break? Do we need a few minutes just to get a glass of water, go to the bathroom, and come back? Do we have an hour and a half, or do we have 2 hours, Isabela? ¿Cómo vamos? What do you think?
So we would have about an hour actually, but if we need more time, we can do more time. so we
Well,
can gauge.
well, I can, if we want, then let me just give you the last exercise and we can wrap up.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
And then we can leave it for questions at the end too, if anyone has any other.
So it's going to be very important, and I love this. The guardrails for your thoughts is the third exercise. Thank you, Isabella. And guardrails for your thoughts has to do with the possibility of being a manager, of being a leader, of being a staff member who is more aware, and a staff member who is more productive in the way of being able to produce better relationships, to produce better conversations, to produce better work by uplifting others and by respecting and protecting them emotionally. So it's called duty of care. It's called empathic leadership. And so I'm going to show you basically the guardrails. What are the guardrails that you can use? What are the things that you can, put in play and in place when you're stuck in a rut, when you want to lead, when you want to change or evolve your leadership, and especially in the face of this kind of continuous crisis, which is the end of the world as we know it. And it's called emotional first aid, because just as your body reacts, or let's just say your emotional responses are as reactive as if you have a constant paper cut in the tip of your finger. And that's exactly it, the emotional toll of constantly being bombarded with really, really heavy stories and really dangerous situations, and a lot of harm and a lot of hurt, and also a lot of threats of, this, that, and the other. It's like just having constant, harm done to your physical body. So the first aid is just to have a kit and, Band-Aids and, some Neosporin and whatever it is that you have on your first aid kit. I'm going to show you the emotional first aid kit, and I'm going to show you how it is possible to heal our little wounds. Rudy, it's possible to get out of that, impatient anger cycle. It's possible to get out of the tiredness and deception cycle. It's possible to get out of the fear cycle, and also, enhance your performance and work better and happier. I'm not going to read because we don't have a lot of time, but it's very important that you consider that breathing and somatic breathing, as we were saying, after Brandon shared the story that he just covered before coming to the training, and we all took a deep breath. You have no idea how important the work of learning how to breathe is. And especially in spaces where we are, I don't know if anybody is in radio around. If you work on radio, and if you work in particular spaces where you have to be super quiet, we sometimes forget to breathe because it's noisy, but it's important to be able to do it and to learn how to do it, because it is by far the most authentic and grounding and valuable exercise that you can ever do. And it's free. Anybody can do it. It's almost natural and it's almost instinctive to your body. But by doing it as a practice, it just brings so many good benefits. Call me if you want to know more. I'm thinking maybe, Isabella, we have to start breathing circles. Just people just getting into. Just breathe it out, breathe out the bad news. Just breathe them out. And I'm going to go super, not fast, but a little more. And the artwork is amazing, right? The artwork is insane. The capacity of being fully present is, again, free. Anybody can do it. And be empathic when we are present with others. Empathy is a revolving door. You cannot be empathic if you're expecting to receive empathy. It goes both ways. You cannot expect empathy if you don't dispense empathy. And it is like that. And it's a muscle. Empathy, like the abuelas taught us, you say please and thank you. And you say salud when somebody sneezes, and you hold the door, etc., etc. Well, that is what you do for your soul. Empathy is the good manners of the soul. And you need to be able to do it constantly for others, but also for yourself. I don't want people to cry, but I would say, when was the last time that you heard yourself and your inner thoughts with empathy? When was the last time that you gave a little tenderness to your own thoughts? When did you last say, I hear you. I hear you. Shout out to the wisdom of the abuelas. Totalmente, you know? Please and thank you. But please and thank you also to yourself. Cariñito, that's where it's all at. I love this one. Recognize your emotional boundaries and be open about them and talk about them. Rudy, there is something at work that is triggering you. Once you know what that is, it's important for you to be able to share it and say, for the love of God, please don't send me to cover this particular thing, because that's too triggering. I've done it before. Please send someone else. And if they don't want to listen to you, Rudy, have them call me. I'll tell them. I'll tell them it's not okay. Because once we're anxious, it's because we have seen it too many times, and our body's like, no, don't take me there. Shout out for y'all who are, having to cover and write difficult stories about difficult topics, where if it hasn't happened to us, it's happening to our community, and vicarious trauma is real. So just remember, watch out for that. The crocodile is right there. We don't want to deal with that crocodile. Just move away from it. Nobody is going to think better of you if you physically putting yourself in harm's way. On the contrary, that brand of journalism is no longer. No hay necesidad. Andres said it's very difficult to ground ourselves in this context. More to the point of bringing or developing anchors that are beautiful and that are community-based. And also, again, if religion is your jam, faith-based. If spirituality is your jam, meditation-based. If food is your jam, it's food-based. If your jam is puppies, it's your jam. Whatever it is that actually brings you to the physical, material existence. My good friend Kim Bui weaves. Just grab something that actually helps you feel and sense the passing of time in a material way. Knitting, drawing, writing. Just feel the passing of time in groundedness. Mindful walking. It's the way to restore your soul. And I would love to have more time to tell you about the science behind all these, because there's awesome work on the hormones and how, all these ideas actually balance your hormones, and they balance your body, and they conduce to a longer life. I want to finish with this. Time management, and I love my little owl there. Time management, it is all science. And I want to just close by saying thank you to all of you. And if you really, really, really can, book 15 minutes in your calendar once a week to just say, meeting with Isabela. It actually means I'm going to just power nap on my desk. I would be so happy. So Fernando just did these images. There's a care awareness plan. There's lovely things that you're going to have because this presentation is so fantastic. Questions, do you have any questions? If you need to jump, we understand. This is my email. You can pass questions also through Isabella, but if someone has a question right now, this is the time. Gracias.
Ivan, I'll have to put a 15-minute meeting with you too.
Sí. I'm
Did
not
anyone
sure
have
how we
any
type here. You don't have to type anything if you don't want to. By the way, in the Google Doc, I share a series of resources that are really fantastic. I compiled almost everything that is right now available in terms of manuals, courses, who is doing what, where, and when about mental health. Everything is in there. Just copy it, share it, print it, whatever you want.
Thank you so much, Luisa. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap up. All right, I think perfect. Okay, and I'll also include that document. We also have an NAHJ mental health resources document that I put together actually with you last year. So I can share that as well in the follow-up email. We do have it on our NAHJ Cares webpage as well. I want to thank you all again for joining us today, and a big thank you to Luisa as always. It's always great to have you here speaking to our members, and I love speaking to you. So even when we have our side conversations, it's always great. And thank you all to all of you that attended, honestly, and allowed yourselves to be vulnerable in this moment and contributed to this space being safe for all of us. We do have another NAHJ Cares Mental Health Awareness Month webinar next week. I sent the link in the chat. Feel free to join us for that as well. It will be a little bit different, more focused on reporting on suicide cases and best practices for that. I did want to remind you all too that we have our conference registration open, where we will also be featuring a few sessions, part of our NAHJ Cares initiative. So please stay tuned for that as well. And that's about it. I look forward to seeing you all in another webinar or at our conference or at chapter events. Stay in touch and see you next time. Thank you. Let me stop recording.